What's up, everyone? It's Carpo here. It's 9/9/17. It's a Saturday, and I decided to come out and make my daily video, which I haven't been making lately. Feeling a little bit inspired at the moment because my train of thought is focused. I just want to say it's been a strange week. It's been a strange month. It's been a strange year, and of course I could drag that in back and say, oh yeah, it's been a strange life. But I should say the only thing that makes something odd is when it's in contrast to something that you might consider normal, and normal is of course what you're used to. So there is no norm out there, but bullshit, whatever. You know, won't even get into that whole philosophy. Right now I wanted to talk about the way that our moods are affected by the sun is pretty much the root of it, but I'm sure that I'll wander off into other topics. But I made a video the other day talking about all the crazy storms and, you know, fires, and how basically it seems like the world's coming to an end sometimes, but really it's just that we're much more connected than ever before. You know, someone you know may be able to share pictures right away of a fire that's happening. Here in the Columbia Gorge, I'm on the west end, and for the last week it's basically just been smoky. I mean, you can't, I wasn't even able to see the sky. And right about the time it just barely started to clear off, then I find out there's these 3 massive solar flares. And so I wanted to start off by saying that, you know, there's really absolutely no scientific, legitimate, proven evidence to show that CMEs or solar flares affect the human psyche. And even if there are, they are tentative at best. And I'm not here saying that this is a fact and I have proof. I'm saying that it's a fact to me because I know I'm affected by maybe, you know, I won't get into this whole aspect of you know, the pseudoscience surrounding many aspects of let's just say even getting into star signs, talking about, you know, I'm a Sagittarius, for example. And sure, when I read the Sagittarius description, it fits me to a T. And there, in the back of our minds, you know, even though I've done a lot of, you know, rational research with an open mind, I'm a hardcore skeptic at heart. So even though I've done my own birth charts and moon and all that, my instant reaction is, well, what does being born at 8 in the morning have to do with anything? We're talking about Pacific time, you know, does it really matter? Does it have to do with the dawn? And why does the position of the moon matter? And all these planetary things. All that aside, whether it's true or not, the big question is, where did this knowledge come from? And that's kind of how I feel about, you know, anything that I'm really delving into. Like, where's the evidence, not that this is true, but that it wasn't just created and manifested and designed over time? In other words, creating its own reality, which is how I feel about most religions. They started off with a small group of people who believed one thing or another and decided to put that down on paper and expand upon that and create a story that eventually people could use. How many people believe in it alone as justification for the fact that it must be true. And science has taken much of the same approach when it comes to the sun and to how it affects our health and our psyche. That, well, yes, it may affect the magnetosphere of the Earth, it may affect the atmosphere, but it's not going to affect us directly as individuals. I'm rambling, but the point is that I felt so odd over the last few days, but yesterday I felt like I was back. And today I felt great too. Actually, this morning I just felt up. I woke up just feeling haggard. I watched a movie. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. And then I had to force myself to get to work to process a few orders. And throughout the day, I felt different. I felt great. And you know, it's funny because somewhat it's substance related in the sense that people who consume. Was it raining out there? I've been waiting for it to rain forever. People who consume, let's say, Kratom, for example. I really enjoy my daily Kratom, but it doesn't always give me the same effect. It depends on where my mind is already at. And some days I can take Kratom 2 or 3 times and just not feel any change whatsoever in my, you know, maybe I just want a little bit of motivation, but over the years, I've noticed that it seems to correlate very much with how I'm feeling, of course, but whether or not I'm sick, whether or not I have a cold or a virus. There's so many factors that are involved in how we feel that it's impossible for me to say that the sun affected my psyche and know for a fact. So that's a long way of saying that I believe something, but I don't know it to be true for a fact. So, we have magnetite in our brains. A lot of people talk about the pineal gland and DMT. I don't go into that realm because I could go on about DMT forever. I'm very well versed and very well experienced in dimethyltryptamine usage, and I've had some amazing experiences that lead me to believe that there's the subconscious can talk a lot, speak much louder in that state of mind, but I don't necessarily believe that it's alien communications. But that's kind of off track. But the point being is that DMT is produced supposedly by the pineal gland. This same pineal gland, which is affected by magnetic or electromagnetic activity. The pineal gland also produces melatonin. Melatonin is known as the sleep trigger. So at night when you're sitting there watching TV and trying to fall asleep, the reason why you can't is because the light is entering your eyes and your brain is registering that as daylight. If you close your eyes, within a few minutes you're usually asleep. And this is because in darkness your brain starts to produce melatonin, helping you to get to sleep. So all of these neurochemicals are, so intertwined, but the idea that the pineal gland is the seat of the soul has always been, a lot of people firmly believe that the pineal gland, seeing that it's a non-hemispherical gland in the brain, I think the only one that's non-hemispherical, meaning it doesn't have two equal halves, it's just one, and it's way in the base, in the seat of the brain, well protected, part of perhaps our primal brain, but that they believe it's the third eye, the literal third eye, and everything tends to be, metaphysical tends to be pushed into the physical. It has to be seen, represented. It's kind of like the chakras. I mean, you literally don't have a chakra sitting on your chest. It's more of a metaphor for that energy. And as soon as you get into that, there are a million different opinions and stories about what's true and what's not. I don't have a belief on it. I'm not even going to go into that particular idea of whether or not I believe that chakras are real, or Reiki, or any of these healing modes, or any of this, or astrology. What I do believe is that we are very mind-manifesting people, and that placebo is one hell of a drug. Placebo is not just a sugar pill in a test where a person convinces themselves that their headache went away. Placebo isn't always even something that's consumed. It can be a treatment. It can be if somebody believes something strong enough, then their psyche can convince their brains that that's happening. Just a moment. I will be right back. Part of the reason why I don't make videos very often anymore. I have a full house. We have people, family staying, as well as my two kids who just constantly need something, and it keeps me pretty well distracted. But isn't that what life's about? So anyway, I've kind of gone on a ramble here about, things that, like astrology, which I'm definitely not trying to diminish or put down. It's let me just put it this way. I believe that there's something to everything. That there's something to most of these metaphysical, occult, and hidden type knowledge that people claim are true. It's not a matter of discovering something and reading it and saying, now I have knowledge, or now I understand how this works, or now I can make my mind create my own reality. It's kind of about training it. But there's these subtle energies that are just there, and we don't understand them. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the sun thing. It's like, how much does the sun really affect our psyche as individuals? Was my mood really affected as strongly as I thought it was by the sun? So naturally, I went on and I did a little bit of research to see what other people had experienced. Because it's funny, my mom came up to me and she mentioned she had tinnitus the other day. How it had got really bad, and I started thinking, I wonder if that's solar flare related. So, or if anybody else has experienced that. And I found several people who had said during strong solar activity that their tinnitus acts up. People get headaches. They become tired. And I think, can this really just all be placebo? Well, it could be if every one of the people was aware of what's going on with the sun. And that's kind of where I'm going with that. The placebo, if you take a pill and you think that it's doing something and it does, then perhaps you manifested that. If someone tells you that storms are going to make people grumpy, or that, no sun for a day, or that an eclipse is going to open up your third eye, you might believe that's going to be true. But if all of a sudden you find out that a whole bunch of people had very similar effects and felt, very similar on a certain day, and then you find out that it was related to, or that there was solar activity, a full moon, or whatever it might be, there are a million different excuses or reasons we can come up with, but I firmly believe that to not think that we're affected by the sun is pretty silly. I mean, the sun is Jesus, if you will. That's the representation. That is the God. If God is the universe, the sun is Jesus, and that energy is shot, shot out into space in all directions, and when there's a high dose of that energy, it can affect us. And this sounds like all probably psychobabble bullshit, and that's fine, because that's to a lot of people. And to others, some people may say, hey, there's nothing to it. Humans just feel what we feel, and we create our own realities. Others may be saying that I'm not going deep enough, that really there are these, truths about, the mind, the time of birth, the place of birth, and all these things. My personal thought is that there are too many factors of human existence, too many factors to when we were born, how we were born, male or female, what race, what culture, all these different things that are all tied into this astrology, which just cannot be used, in my opinion, for, put it this way, very few people want to look into astrology to find out who they are. They rather want to find out what's coming in their future. I mean, isn't that what horoscopes are all about? Your day is going to be great or your day is going to be bad. So to each his own on that one. But I really try to keep it neutral on my own life. Try not to buy into any of the theories about what is, because there's just not enough behind any of it. But solar activity, that's something I might be able to stand behind because I can feel it. So, rant over, ramble over. I'll talk to y'all later. Let me know in the descriptions and comments and all that shit what your experience is with the sun, if you've had any personal, revelations. Not just pertaining to weather, because weather is one too. Weather affects us, vitamin D. The sunshine helps us produce vitamin D, which I understand it's not actually a vitamin, it's a hormone, vitamin D, that we produce when we absorb sunlight. So the sun is a good friend of ours. As of right now, we got some clouds, so we'll see how it turns out. Have a good day.